April 12, 1944. Somewhere in the dense, muddy fields of Normandy, France. The air is thick with the acrid scent of gunpowder and wet earth. Explosions echo in the distance, and the cries of soldiers wounded, exhausted, terrified, punctuate the chaos. Amid the carnage, a group of German soldiers find themselves surrounded. Their weapons jam, their comrades fall beside them, and surrender becomes inevitable. You can almost feel the tension in the air, the mixture of fear and disbelief. These men, trained and indoctrinated to fight to the last, are now prisoners of war. They are herded into trucks, their hands bound, and driven away from the battlefield. Every bump in the road, every distant roar of artillery, feels like a prelude to further suffering. But what awaits them is not the nightmare they imagined. Weeks later, they arrive at a POW camp in the United States. The initial shock is palpable. The fences are tall, yes, and guards are present, but the surroundings, clean barracks, green lawns, and neatly arranged paths, are unlike anything they have ever seen. The air smells of fresh paint and cooking food, not gunfire and blood. They are told to settle into their new quarters, and as they step inside, the reality hits them. These barracks are warm, heated, and surprisingly comfortable. Beds with clean sheets await them, a stark contrast to the muddy trenches and cramped transport trucks of Europe. One prisoner, Hans Muller, later recalled in his memoirs, "We expected hunger, filth, and brutality. Instead, we found neat rooms, fresh bread, and even a small library. At first, I thought it must be some trick, some propaganda designed to fool us." From the very first meal, disbelief continues. 3 times a day, soldiers line up for freshly prepared food. They are offered meat, vegetables, and even desserts, luxuries that many of them haven't tasted in months. Soup steam curls through the air, and the smell of freshly baked bread fills the camp. For men hardened by war, this is surreal. They whisper to each other, wary, "Why are they feeding us so well? What's the catch?" The U.S. officers are patient and careful in their approach. They understand that these men have been taught to distrust Americans, to view them as enemies who will show no mercy. But the reality is the Geneva Convention, a set of rules governing the treatment of POWs, is taken seriously here, and it shows in every detail of camp life, from the cleanliness of the washrooms to the availability of recreational activities. June 1944. The summer sun pours down on a camp in central Louisiana. The prisoners, initially suspicious, begin to explore the grounds. They discover fields for baseball, soccer, and volleyball. A makeshift theater shows movies in the evenings. Music drifts from a small radio, sometimes live performances, sometimes recorded jazz or classical tunes. Imagine yourself in their shoes. You've just spent years in a brutal, unforgiving war. You've seen friends die from bullets, bombs, and starvation. And now you are offered the chance to play a game, to sit in a theater chair, to laugh and talk without fear. It almost feels like a dream. At first, many refuse these invitations. They suspect spies or hidden cameras, or worse, that enjoying such comforts could be a prelude to punishment. But slowly, curiosity overcomes caution. Groups of men tentatively kick balls on the fields. Small crowds gather to watch films projected on white sheets, the flickering light illuminating faces once hardened by combat. Some even join orchestras or choirs, relearning instruments they thought they would never touch again. Sports are more than entertainment. They become a lifeline. Competitions are organized within the camps, with teams representing different barracks. These events, supervised but not oppressive, allow prisoners to regain a sense of autonomy and dignity. A prisoner could go from feeling utterly defeated one morning to winning a volleyball match by afternoon, the applause of fellow POWs, and even guards filling the air. Meals remain a constant source of wonder. Imagine standing in line for lunch, watching the cooks dish out generous portions of meat, potatoes, and fresh vegetables. Dessert is often ice cream or fruit. For soldiers who have endured rationed, flavorless sustenance, this abundance is almost shocking. Letters home describe it as strange, almost guilt-inducing, but undeniably humanizing. Even the hierarchy of the camp is designed to maintain order while giving prisoners respect. Senior officers are addressed properly. Men are assigned responsibilities in kitchens, libraries, and maintenance. This isn't labor as punishment. It's structured freedom. Many German soldiers remarked that the organization, the fairness, and the unexpected kindness were more persuasive than any propaganda could ever be. By late 1944, the reality of life in American POW camps begins to sink in. The initial disbelief gradually turns into grudging admiration, and then, for some, genuine gratitude. Prisoners who once viewed Americans as monsters start to see them as human beings with compassion, civility, and even humor. Some prisoners engage in work that benefits the local community, harvesting crops, assisting in municipal projects, or helping maintain camp facilities. They are paid modestly, allowed to save, and even send money home. It is work that restores purpose without humiliation. Social interactions take on new meaning. Camp newspapers, written by and for the prisoners, feature stories, jokes, and sports results. Talent shows showcase music, poetry, and theater. Men begin to mentor younger prisoners, sharing not just survival skills but cultural insights. In letters, they describe the camp as a place where dignity is preserved, where one can think and plan for a future beyond the war. And yet, the emotional impact is complex. Many German POWs wrestle with conflicting feelings: guilt for being captured, shame for being treated well when others are dying in Europe, and a reluctant awe at the humanity extended to them. One officer wrote, "We came expecting punishment and instead found respect. It was confusing, and yet, somehow, it restored a part of me I thought the war had destroyed." The U.S. government understood that humane treatment of prisoners could serve multiple purposes. It upheld international law, reduced escape attempts and unrest, and in the long term, fostered goodwill. It was not propaganda. It was a strategic and moral choice. By the time these soldiers were repatriated after the war, many carried a transformed perspective. Their stories, letters, and memoirs emphasized the disbelief and the wonder of being treated not as captives, but as human beings deserving of dignity and care. As the last transport plane lifted off from American soil in 1946, carrying German soldiers home, a strange quiet settled over the camps. Barracks emptied, fields lay still, and the echoes of laughter and music faded. Yet the impact lingered. These men returned to a Europe scarred by war, but they carried memories that contrasted sharply with the brutality they had witnessed. Memories of respect, fairness, and unexpected kindness in the heart of former enemies' land. And for anyone listening to these stories today, it serves as a vivid reminder: even in the darkest chapters of human history, humanity can endure. Even amid war, compassion can redefine the enemy, not as a faceless foe, but as a person of life, a story worth acknowledging.